Hey guys, welcome to the video. In today's video, we're going to be doing what if Sweden got an empire? and, so, first off, Sweden is not the weakest of countries. They are a stable country in modern day times. And we're also going to be saying that there's going to be no NATO, no UN, none of that stuff. Because that will just make Sweden not be able to do anything or invade any country. So, we're also going to buff Sweden a little bit, but it's not just going to be that. We're also going to have a rebellion to start. But this rebellion is not going to be successful like you would think, and it's just going to be up here in the north. There's going to be and one in the south. So there's going to be one in the north and one in the south. And you see, these rebellions, these are obvious. They are formed by the government secretly, but what the people are told in Sweden these are people from outside countries trying to stop us, and that is why you must join the military and work harder. And surprisingly, this works, and these rebellions get crushed so fast. It's honestly shocking how fast they got crushed. But yeah, so they got crushed really fast. But it also brings a pride of, it also brings, a nationalization for Sweden and people, and it just helps everyone. And their military is stronger than ever now, with a whole bunch of new trained people. So, Sweden's first plan of action is to invade Denmark. Obviously, they know how successful the Germans were, so they're gonna ask the Germans to come and help them. And Germany's like, heck yeah. So, you're gonna have Sweden moving in quickly in the north, taking out the capital. Meanwhile, most of the other islands up north, while Germany takes out down south. And this is all within 4 hours, and the last hour is taking the rest, and it's split up like this in between Sweden and Germany. So the northern part is for Sweden, and the southern part is for Germany. And Germany gets all their promised land, so they decide to become a Swedish ally, which is going to be good for them, because this is a Swedish video, not a German video, but it is a Swedish video, so the Swedish are probably going to end up winning. But the rest of the land just goes over to Sweden, and that's good. That's really good, so yay. But I'm just going to use the color pink for the Germany, so you'll know that they're just an ally. But next country that Germany and Sweden has their eyes on is the Netherlands. And you might be wondering, why is Sweden trying to come all the way out into the Netherlands? It's just because they believe that they don't really believe that they can get out here. So they do want to go after the Netherlands, but they get guaranteed by France. So Sweden and Germany decide to hold off for a little bit. So their next conquest is going to be up here in Norway. But Finland goes ahead, might join. Finland might join. It's not a guarantee yet. So the Spanish, they quickly moving, almost reaching the capital. Well, they do reach the capital. They just pretty much surround it. They're mostly focusing in the southern parts and just holding a defensive line up here in the north. But the Swedish, they weren't really expecting the Finland people to join. So what ends up happening is the Finland people and the Norwegian people, they all start, the militaries, they push in and take out a big chunk of northern Spain. But the Spanish military is able to get under control with a lot of German support coming up here and actually starting to push out and even fighting back the pushback a little bit. So now it's looking something like this. Meanwhile, Germany makes a naval invasion and now diverts even more of the Norwegian military off to another front line. So now you have Norway like really close to collapsing, with the Swedish military getting closer and closer. So that's good, I guess, for the Swedish. But the Norwegian people, they are starting to get very mad with their government, and well, they decide what's gonna happen if we lose this war. Germany might take a chunk of land, and Sweden might take the rest. So I guess that's not the worst situation. But before these two spearheads could meet up, Sweden, not Sweden, sorry. Norway is able to make a push back out and recapture the capital and push back the Swedish front. Same with the Germans. But that comes at a cost with pulling out all the troops from up north, and the Swedish literally just walk into the northern part of Norway. So I guess that's good, but not good at the same time, because you got your main territory back, but now the Finland people are also really mad at you because you just like got them pushed in, because they pulled all the troops out off of the northern border, so a lot of fighting just happened, and they just end up like pushing in pretty hard, and so yeah, Sweden, they pushing really hard, and they are actually able to pretty much push Finland back all the way to their border, almost reaching the Finland border, but not completely. So, the next part was Sweden realized that they're going to have to push in and recapture the capital, and well, that goes very successfully, and they are able to recapture the capital, and Germany and Sweden both encircle a large amount of troops, and mainly the rest of the population parts. So now pretty much the rest of southern Norway is just going to be a sweep, because they just gotta push through and get in. And well, now the whole Swedish military and the whole German military are looking up north to the rest of Norway and Finland. So, well, Sweden is able to make a couple naval invasions off the coast of Finland for these islands. Well, the Germans, they start focusing a lot more up north, pushing deep into Swedish occupied territory. So now with most of Sweden being freed, and the Swedish finally getting their border, finally reaching the Finland border back again, the first troops of the first German troops walk into Finland since World War II. So been a little while, I guess. But you do have a little bit of encirclement of troops, and these troops are like but these troops are like, they are like encircled like little part, and they are holding out strong. So they just retreat into a better defensive line, and they're gonna hold right there. And honestly, I can see these troops just holding out for the rest of time until they are like wiped out, like officially. But the Swedish military is able to push out a little bit and push through pretty much directly to the border. And there we go. So now Sweden has reached Finland pretty much fully, and now pushing a lot farther into the Finland territory. But eventually Finland and Norway both just decide to give up the northern part. So that's good, I guess. But yeah, Finland, they realize that they are going to lose this war now, with a lot of Swedish troops now moving in and taking a lot more territory. So, what else happens is, well, Sweden is finally able to push these troops out from their land. So, Sweden, they are being very successful. They are being very successful, and they are making massive gains into the Finland territory. And, well, there we go. So, Sweden, they now send a peace treaty over to Finland, but Finland denies, saying that they will never give up. Surprisingly, this was the worst decision that they could ever make, because Sweden makes a massive naval invasion, taking out most of their western part of the coastline. So now that's gonna really hurt the Finland. While Sweden continues to make a push for the capital, Germany, the German troops, they make a spearhead, meeting up and encircling a decent amount of Finnish troops that will be taken out over the following months of the war. But winter finally hits, slowing down the Swedish for a little bit. And eventually, Finland goes back to that peace treaty and say, hey, is this still, like, can we still accept this? And like, no, we're fighting you to the very end. And, well, eventually Sweden eventually does some bad things. They start killing a lot more people, just random civilians. So, Sweden does some bad things. But this makes them very quickly able to, like, just grind through the Finnish military, and they eventually just surrender. But now we have to draw the peace treaty. Oh, Finland's gone. Oh, Norway's gone. Oh wait, Norway's back. Oh wait, no, they're not. Yeah, Norway's not back. It's just Germany taking some land. That's actually quite a bit of land. There we go. So yeah, now Germany, they do have some land in Norway, and that's good, I guess. But the Swedish, they don't really know where to go now, so they're going to make a push for the... Yeah, so you know those troops that I was talking about earlier? Yeah, they're still holding out until the Swedish troops finally decide to push in and take them out. So there we go. I'm just gonna wipe out that river. We don't really need that river. So yeah, now with Sweden at its like greatest extent for over 100 years now, people are starting to realize that Sweden is becoming dangerous, and an alliance immediately starts up, and it's going to be called the Blue Team Alliance. You know, really tough. So the Blue Team Alliance, they are going to be a whole bunch of group of people to try to stop the Swedish and the Germans. Well, the thing is, the Germans, they go ahead and backstab the Swedish, and they're going to go ahead and completely do a 360. And they are going to, backstab the Swedish, as I said. And they are now on the blue team side. And they told the blue team everything that they know about the Swedish, and the Swedish is like, oh, okay. And, well, the next people that Sweden was going to go after end up joining the alliance. So most of Europe is now starting to join this alliance, and Sweden is now starting to realize that if they declare war on a single country, they're going to get jumped by every single country, like instantly. So more and more countries start joining, and it's starting just to look like NATO with Russia and Ukraine. So I take that as you want, but a lot of countries are joining, and pretty much all of Europe at this point are against the Swedish. And, well, they're like, where do we go from here? We literally have nowhere where we can go. So what ends up happening is they're like, well, you only live once, so they declare war on all of Europe. So let me just go ahead and color this in. Yeah, so pretty much Sweden is fighting all of Europe. They are still mad with Germany because Germany just backstabbed them 100%. So let me just color in all of these countries. I can see, so the Blue Team Alliance was not prepared for this, so I can see Sweden able to make some land gains in the early run, and then getting absolutely swept from under their feet by the whole Blue Team military. So just look at the teams right now. So you have all of Europe against Sweden. So you have, this is Sweden, you know, against all of this. Who do you think's gonna win, guys? Who do you think's gonna win? Honestly, me personally, I believe that the red Sweden is gonna win. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, let's get to the war. So the Swedish, they are very quick to moving to Germany, like surprisingly quick. Like they were preparing a military campaign before the Germans joined this alliance. So yeah, they make very quick land grabs, taking the northern part of Germany. Meanwhile, making a naval invasion into the northern part of Poland and Kaliningrad. And well, yeah. So now we have the western part of Kaliningrad and the northern part of Poland getting taken out. Meanwhile, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Well, Lithuania is able to hold out, same with Latvia, but Estonia is a whole different story. Because, well, the Russians, they did not do the greatest job at fortifying this, because the whole blue team was not prepared to go to war with Sweden this early. They at least expected a year or two, because Sweden was terrified when this whole alliance was made. But they're like, hey, you only live once. And the Swedish government declared war on them 2 days after this whole alliance, like the last member joined. So this alliance was around for like a month or two before the Swedish declared war on them. But yeah, they weren't fully ready for this. But the northern part of Germany does get taken out. Meanwhile, the Spanish are able to make a naval invasion into the British, but this naval invasion is probably not going to go anywhere because it's stuck in this part of Scotland. But another place that gets naval invaded is the Netherlands, with some German troops even helping the Spanish still. So it's a whole very big confusing time because some of the German troops didn't even get the memo. So yeah. But you have Sweden mostly focusing on Germany because their plan is to even try to somewhat win this war, is push down into Berlin, and then just keep on pushing until you reach the Mediterranean. So you're gonna have this split into two. Then you're gonna focusing on Poland, push out into Warsaw, while probably giving up Finland to just hold off the Russians. Meanwhile, we'll probably end up just pushing into the British Isles, and then make a naval invasion into France, take out their capital, and then pushing and meet up through this part of France, and then push down into Rome, take Rome, and then the rest of it would be a breeze over months and months of fighting. So the Swedish, that's their plan. The blue team's plan is just to stop the Swedish gains and then just absolutely bulldoze over Sweden. But yeah, so Sweden, they are successful for the first little bit. They are able to take Berlin. Nothing was actually destroyed because Sweden, they do actually have a lot of respect for Berlin. So they are like not destroyed at all. But a very big bomb comes and gets dropped. I'm kidding. No nuclear bombs were dropped in this war. Because the United States is like, if a single nuclear bomb is dropped, then we're going to be dropping nuclear bombs on every single country involved in this war. And they're like, oh, okay. So, now the blue team military is fully militarized and ready to push back. And they are quick at doing that. They are so quick. They make it out to... They push them out of Berlin and away. Meanwhile, trying to hold off the rest of northern Germany, but they are not able to. Meanwhile, the naval invasion in the Netherlands also fails, with the German troops finally getting the memo. And the British naval invasion also does get pushed back to here, but the British just set up a defensive line there and just not going to take anything. So, but something that does happen is a little rebellion. By little, I mean it's not little at all. And Russia is, well, Russia is like, come on guys, we need to fight against this rebellion all together. And they're like, why? And they're like, it's because it's the Finland people trying to rise back up, and we want that land. They're like, oh, well, you were technically the creator of this, so we'll listen to you. So, surprisingly, they do send support over to fight this rebellion, and it helps. But those troops immediately turn around and start shooting the Swedish from the inside, and there is now a new rebellion, and it's called the Russian Expo Rebellion. Expo, it's like EXPO. So it's like short for expansion. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but like I'm just saying words, you know. But it's just short. It's just, we're just trying to say that the Russians are trying to expand, and very rapidly. The Spanish, they do make some land gains because they are still here in this land. So yeah, the Spanish are still here. They're in like this areas. So yeah, but the Russians, they are very quick to take St. Petersburg back, like surprisingly fast, like so fast that it looks like the Spanish didn't even have time to react, because they didn't. The Spanish, they are now starting to collapse from the inside. More and more rebellions start popping up. Meanwhile, these troops getting circled, and the Russians are not stopping to take out these pockets. So the whole thing is now going mayhem, and Sweden's like, uh-oh, we're cooked. And like Russia's like, yeah, you are, because you're not even pushed out of the rest of Europe, and we're in your core territories now, pretty much. And actually, no, we are in your core territories. So you know this little, those two little pixels that I had out there? Yeah, they pop back up. Wonder who supported that, huh? Russia, Britain, So yeah, that pops back up. But since the Germans, they did switch sides before the war started, they were promised land. But the Germans, they are finally able to push to Denmark, taking it out and taking out these islands. Meanwhile, the Swedish military is now encircled because they can no longer leave the Polish. So what they do is they just come up and sit where the Germans did back in World War II. So there is like a lot of troops in this little pocket. So yeah, they're all just sitting there. And this is like the best Swedish troops you can find, because these are like prime Swedish troops. Every single Swedish troop that was in this got up here, and they are now just sitting on this defensive line. They are completely encircled. There is no getting out of this. But, yeah. Eventually, the Germans, they are able to make a naval invasion, taking back a lot of their lost land. And their goal is actually to take more land from Norway and take a little bit more land from Denmark. And that's all they're really asking for. And then they're like good for like life. But the British, they are very like against them gaining any land from Norway, they are actually the Netherlands are willing to give themselves up because of the British. They like kind of manipulated the government into thinking that if the Germans can get Norway, then another World War II is going to happen, and they don't want that happening. So yeah, but finally, some more some like Swedish cores that have never been invaded finally are invaded, and well, it's not looking good for the Swedish anymore. The Swedish they have like multiple things encircled. Like for example, the British and the British pocket and the Latvian not puppet pocket, and all of these troops are encircled. Which the Russians do finally decide to turn back and take out these troops because they have been causing a lot of inconvenience for the Russians in the last couple of years. So what ends up happening is the Russians they take out these pockets and they swiftly move through the Swedish, meeting up with this pocket or that rebellion, I guess you can say. And finally, you have Sweden suing for peace, but the Russians and the rest of the blue team is like, nah, we gotta take you out. So you can probably see the end of Sweden here because I can see Sweden getting broken up into multiple little pieces until they can no longer be broken up. So there's now this Norwegian pocket which quickly surrenders, and well, you also have the Russians now making a naval invasion into the capital and capturing the capital, and now everyone just says the war's over because it is. But now it's time for something interesting. The first Spanish thing that they get to do is they make their own country, and it is all the troops that have been left in Latvia, and all the troops that are in Britain are allowed to come to this country and just stay here. No crimes committed or anything. So they live there now, I guess. Russia is quick to grab land from Finland, and Norway, because they are greedy, I guess you could say. The Russians, they are greedy. I'm now probably going to get assassinated by Vladimir Putin, but, who cares? So, yeah. If you guys don't hear from me in another 6 months, it's either because I can't get back into YouTube or I got assassinated by Vladimir Putin. So, yeah. Now, we have Russia not taking as much land as the Finnish people thought they were going to take because they, literally supported the anti-rebellion in Sweden. But the Russians, they literally just told them that they were using that to win the war faster. And surprisingly, it worked. Because if they probably didn't do that, I can see this war taking a lot longer. But Russia is also quick to mention that, don't worry, this peace treaty is not over. But Norway is now given its independence with some extra land down here in the south and a lot more land in the north, with Norway not being punished at all, even regaining their land from Germany because they were told that they are going to lose that land because they weren't that's not their rightful land. And the Germans, they were like, okay, yeah, we completely understand. We understand why. But they are still promised all of Denmark and all of the Netherlands. So take that as you must. A country that literally won the war now has to go over to Germany and say, hey, we're your country now. So please be nice. And Germany's like, nah, we're not going to be nice. I'm kidding, but so yeah. The Germans, they are finally able to get all their land, and they are now finally ready for the peace. They're done with all the war now. But since the Germans, they did do a lot taking these islands, they are going to take some islands up here. And, well, I guess it's good for Germany, but take that as you must. But this video is also very unrealistic. I'm saying that now. But now it's time for Finland. Finland is going to be very interesting because Russia does not want Finland back. Because, well, Russia and Finland have an interesting past, but Russia does not want Finland back. So, Finland's going to come back into 3 pieces. And one of them is going to be more Swedish than Finland, but it's still going to be called the third Finland country. So all 3 of these countries get released. But now it is time, because a lot of countries are no longer invited to the last peace treaty. For example, the countries that did absolutely nothing contributing to this war. For example, most of Europe. They did absolutely nothing. So all of their leaders were just told not to come this time because it's just going to be the last thing, and you could just like Zoom meet us, you know? We'll just like use a Zoom meeting to like invite you here, you know? And they're like, okay, fine. So I guess that's good. But finally, a peace treaty is decided on what's going to happen to Sweden, and the Swedish government is still decided to be let to decide. Like, he can still run. Like, he's still there. He's still in power. But here's Sweden now. So, here's all the Swedish territory, and then the Russians come over and bomb the capital on the last peace treaty day. So, yeah, yay? No, not yay, but there you go. So you're gonna have all of this, and then there. So yeah, there we go. All of this land is now given its independence, and same with these islands, except for this island. This island does go over to Sweden. So, hey, after all, they still gain land. So, here is our great Swedish Empire. They have finally taken the land that they've always wanted, and they are great once more. Here is our great Swedish Empire, right there. This land right here, and that island. Great Swedish Empire. Did they lose a lot of land? Oh, more than they came in with. But you know what? It's not about the journey. It's about the friends you made along the way, which they made no friends. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. No debating for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye.